Onset Morellii, fantastic architectural tropical plant for the garden. Very easy to grow as long as you water it well. It'll grow from a small plug or a plant less than a foot tall to a plant at least 4 foot within about 3-4 months. This plant that you see now in mid-September was planted here very early June, and it's absolutely rocketed away with minimal fuss. Been battered by the recent winds, as you can see by the leaves, but normally the leaves are pretty wind resistant as long as you've got a sheltered spot. So today I'm going to dig this up and store for winter. I'm going to show you how to do that. So first stage is literally dig this out of the ground. Now I've dug up the onset, laid it down, as you can see, not taken much of the root ball away as that's not really required. Now the next stage is start cutting away the outer leaves with ideally a serrated knife. Now the next stage is to remove all the soil from the bottom of the banana plant. We don't want any of this on, as it will soak up a lot of water and could lead to rot in winter. What we're trying to do is make this plant as dry as possible. So remove as much by hand, and once you've done that, get a jet on it, hose pipe, and remove the rest of the soil. So now I've washed off as much soil as I can from the roots, and over winter these roots will die off and new roots will form next year, so you don't have to be too worried about damaging these. The next stage is to drain all the water from around the leaf bases, here, here and all the way up. So you need to tip it upside down. And water will slowly drain away from around these cut leaf stalks. So you need to put this somewhere dry, obviously, and not too cold for the next week or so, just to dry off. And you want it vertically like this, or at an angle at the very least, and keep turning it every few days. So a good place would be obviously a shed, garage, maybe in your house, a conservatory if you've got space for it, or if it has to be outside, make sure it's under shelter, so perhaps under a patio table or under a carport, something like that, so it doesn't get wet. The whole idea is to dry off this as much as we can. Once we've done that, after about a week or so, we will cut off any final leaves from around the base, like this one. And once we've done that, we'll store it the correct way up, this way up, somewhere dark and dry, temperature between 5 and 15 degrees. It can go down to freezing, but ideally want it warmer than that. So somewhere like a cellar would be great. A kitchen cupboard. garage if it's an attached garage to your house so it doesn't get frozen. Basically somewhere where it will not freeze through and it's very dry and dark. I can't stress enough how the roots are not important at this stage because it's not helping the plant grow. It's going to go into dormancy. But the killer of these plants is rot, which gets in from the water, from draining in here, and it would soak, if you left the soil on it, it would possibly soak into the soil and then rot it from below, or it would make its way into the middle of the plant and rot it off slowly over winter with the cooler temperatures. Also, the cut leaves, as you can see, they're just full of water. You see that oozing out there. So over winter it's good to check on these from time to make sure that this is not actually coming out and going to the base and rotting it off. So just check every so often in winter to make sure that if any of these outside leaves have really sort of started going wet or soft, remove them, give it a bit of ventilation, and make sure it's really dry at all times. What I will do after about a week of being like this and draining away, if I do remove any more leaf bases or cut this flush here, perhaps I will get some sulphur powder and dust that over all the cut surfaces. I will dust it in the top as well and over the exposed roots at the bottom, just to help prevent any further chance of rot. And then this can be stored for a good 6 months like this. You can store it from end September or October if you wish, all the way through to April time, even early May, and it'll be fine. And then just start it off indoors, room temperature, and it will start growing. Just make sure when you come to spring you don't start watering it heavily when it's just like this, because obviously it will rot off. What you need to wait for is roots to start appearing from around here, and you can slowly start adding water. I'd plant it in a very small container, just a bit of compost to begin with, wait for the roots to start forming, wait for the leaves to start unfurling, and then gradually increase the amount of water you give it as you see it growing, and pot it up into a bigger pot size. And by mid to late May it'll be ready to go outside in the garden, where it'll continue to grow and get to a bigger and bigger plant. So this is where I'm storing mine, under a patio table. I've covered the top where the whole umbrella will go, because we don't want water to come down onto the onset. The idea is to keep it dry, keep air going around it, and also if you look at the bottom, water won't collect at the bottom here and start rotting up into it. The whole idea is to keep this really dry, so after about a week or so it'll start to harden off and all the cut leaves where I've cut the roots, and it'll be ready for winter storage.